Public announcement time! Humanity has gone too far and they figured out how to clone people. And you too can become a Necrit clone by picking up our fresh out of the oven Necrit merch. Have you ever wanted to be a Necrit but you lack the visual fidelity of a neckbeard? Well, I can't help you with that, but you can pick up a new pair of fancy pants. Not to mention an original hat that is guaranteed to hide your imperfect hairline. The links to all of that will be below. Apologies, my microphone broke in the middle of this video and so I am now a TV host. Ha! Riot pulled off quite a twist, haven't they? So, in case you missed it, last week we got quite the news from 2xKO. Truth be told, most people expected these news, and those who haven't didn't even know that 2xKO was out. We're talking about the fact that 2xKO didn't quite get the success it was aiming for, or more specifically, it didn't get the mass appeal it needed, because within the fighting game community, the success is actually pretty good. And as a result, the 2xKO team had to be shrunk down quite a bit in order to make sure that the game can keep getting updates. If you'd like to see more details on that, we do have a separate video up talking about all of that. But for now, just know that after the news came out, most people immediately thought that 2xKO is dying. And so, as a response, Riot quickly had to push out a statement. They had to let us know that the game is sticking around and it is going forward. For now. And they had to be fast about this because the depression from the last piece of news spread out quickly. I mean, during the launch week we learned that 2xKO will be getting a new champion every 3 months or so, and then we went from that to, this. However, in the last video where we talked about the situation, we didn't mention one thing, and that is the fact that the entire 2xKO roster didn't exactly help. Right now, the vast majority of the characters in 2xKO are from Arcane, or at least related to Piltover and Zone. And in a lot of the cases, the characters don't even really fit a fighting stereotype for a fighting game. I mean, 99% of all the characters are just people in a fantasy universe with a lot of different races and monsters. Also, surprisingly, too many of them have a gun. And you'll see that this is relevant for the news that are coming later. And so now, let's dive into the article that was put out. Hey everyone, Sean here. We wanted to give you a quick preview on what's upcoming for 2xKO. We would have made a video to talk about this face to face, but the team is heads down and we wanted to chat ASAP. Again, it makes sense for them to put out a statement as soon as possible, because the internet is the internet. Our team is still fully committed and working hard on 2xKO. And we are doubling down on building for the fighting game community that loves this genre. A few weeks ago I mentioned that we are focusing on 3 things: duo play, core gameplay, and community and competitive programs. These are still big priorities for us moving forward, and I want to dig into them here. So, let's pause for a moment and break this down. The big confirmation here is that 2xKO is alive and it will keep getting updates. However, it was confirmed that the focus of this game going forward will be on the core community. Now, this is not necessarily bad news. It simply means that if you are a fighting game fan, well, Riot is dedicated on serving you. However, this does mean that if you are a casual gamer who may potentially get interested in this game, well then the focus may not exactly cater towards you. Now, let's not forget that the 2xKO team made the game simpler for the onboarding of new players. For example, the pulse combo in this game is pretty awesome, and the controls in general are quite simple. But when it comes to casual game modes or a story mode or anything like that, simply said, that's not exactly getting a priority. And I'm going to assume that that's one of the reasons why the team had to be shrunk down. Because the monetization is what it is, the game likely wasn't generating the funds to fund everything, and so they had to focus on one direction. And so they likely had to ask the question, what would they be focusing on? Would it be the core audience that already loves the game? Or would it be the broader audience that is harder to get? The choice seems fairly obvious now, and so get ready to get juggled in the air a lot. So next, Sean dives into the specifics. When it comes to duo play, it's been amazing to see how many players discover how fun 2xKO with a duo can be. And we want to make that experience more accessible. We've been prototyping a local duo mode experience that will let you and a friend play couch co-op together against the world. We are still finalizing our plans for the feature, but it's a top priority and we are working to get it into the game as quickly as possible. Yes, I will admit it is kinda crazy that a 2v2 game didn't have couch co-op ready on day one. That probably should have been there, but let's be honest, it is better late than never. After which they dive into the core gameplay. We've seen the conversation about what our core gameplay could or should look like in the future, and we want to clear one thing up. We love that 2xKO is fast-paced, allowing your reactions and creativity to shine while providing a ton of depth to dig into. The skill ceiling of this game is high, and that's where it's gonna stay. We'll continue making balance changes that hit outliers in the meta while keeping the sauce of every character. At a high level, we want every champion to have defined strengths and weaknesses, and right now, that's not clear enough across all of the cast. So yes, get ready to get juggled a lot. I'll be honest, yes, the skill ceiling is kinda beyond my comprehension in this game. And it is very obvious when you face someone who knows how to play this game. And again, that is good for the core audience. However, I would argue that the entry point needs to be as low as the ceiling is high. Otherwise, 2xKO will just scare people away. In fact, that is exactly what already happened. I've seen a lot of people scared after seeing a clip of someone 100 to 0ing you with a single combo. After which, they simply never picked up the game. I hate to say it, but for me, as a casual enjoyer myself, this might be the kind of direction that is gonna be pushing me away as well. I need some kind of a casual hook in the game as well to just keep dragging me along. And right now, that hook is just not there. And so next they go into the community and the competitive systems. We're looking to push how we support 2xKO tournament organizers and their communities in more ways, starting with the competitive series. The 2026 competitive schedule is going strong, and our next challenger event is at Genesis X3. Tune into the stream starting today, which was actually yesterday, and cheer on the best 2x players in the Bay community support. Among other things, we are working on a program that will give local tournament organizers access to exclusive in-game pricing, which can't be earned anywhere else. The goal is to give smaller tournament organizers new tools to expand, and to reward players for joining their local community. We're testing this with a few locals soon. After that, we'll start taking applications to join the program. Now, this is something awesome for the community. As someone who now knows how Riftbound works, it seems like 2xKO is trying to do the same thing that they are doing with the Nexus Knights packs. Essentially, if you attend a local event, you'll get some extra things. For Riftbound, it works really well, and so if you are excited about 2xKO, this is what you should be looking forward to. But then Sean also talks about the feedback they are getting so far. We've also seen a few conversations that we wanted to recognize. No major updates to share on these, but here's a quick recap of what we are hearing. Ranked. We're keeping an eye on edge cases that affect finding fair matches in the ranked system. This makes sense, the focus is still on the core audience, which is the audience that loves ranked. Screen tearing. We've seen the conversation among console players about screen tearing while in-game, and we are working on an update to address this feature. I'm not a console player, so sure, that might be happening. Yasuo and Echo. These two characters are some of the sauciest in the roster, but we also see that their weaknesses aren't apparent enough at the highest levels of play. Now yes, these two can definitely make people quit the game. If there is a tournament, every team has either a Yasuo or Echo in it. And that's because these are complex and they can actually 100 to 0 you. Which also means, if you don't really know how to play the game and you meet one of these people who know how to play as these, you're just done. And so it's funny that the team is addressing the fact that, yes, people kinda hate these. Now sure, these points of conversations are still important, but I would argue that people are, for the most part, talking about the roster in 2xKO, they are talking about the pricing of the skins, and they are talking about the fact how most people don't even know that 2xKO is out. How is that possible? I don't know, but I'll be honest, those are the 3 points of feedback that I keep hearing about. And so, thankfully, then we get into what's next. I mean, remember how it was mentioned that we are supposed to be getting champions very quickly now? Well, right after Caitlyn, the next announced champion is Akali. Now finally, it is amazing to have a champion that is not from Arcane. It is such a breath of fresh air. And yes, the gameplay actually looks fun. The animations are good, it seems very straightforward, it's just combos and juggling. I appreciate the little blink with the smoke bomb. But let's not forget that this is just an early preview. And so if Akali is gonna have some really annoying abilities, they are not gonna be showing them just yet. So who knows, while the feedback on her is that people appreciate the simplicity, maybe she is not gonna be as simple. On top of this, I've heard people appreciating the fact that finally we are getting a character that fits a fighting game. But I've also seen that a lot of the League of Legends players who are Akali mains don't really like the design. Specifically, her hair is too big and her pants are not baggy. I don't think that's game breaking. And so, at the end, we also move towards one more champion that was announced. And that one is Senna. Now, Senna looks good. Which is surprising because it is yet another champion with a gun in a fighting game where people want to see fighters, and that's simply because her fighting style actually looks good. Also, the Wraith form brings in a little bit of spice. It seems like you have to set up souls, and then if you hit the souls with your cannon, you collect the souls, just like you do in League of Legends. After which you are able to activate the Wraith form, which actually makes her look different. And so yes, surprisingly, in many people's eyes, Senna just works. And even though she is a humanoid, at least we can all pretend that she is undead. Although, I'll be honest, I know what people are focusing on in all the comments. It's the toes. But hang on a moment, we are not done yet. There is one more thing we have to talk about, and that is the background. You see, the background is a whole new arena that is focusing on the Sentinels of Light. Now, I don't believe this is the headquarters, because it is overgrown. It kinda looks like one of the bases around the world. And more specifically, it does look like one of the bases in Ishtal. Here, when I looked at the golem in the background, I wondered where have I seen them? After which I realized, in another game. But then I noticed all the weapons around this arena. First of all, on the main pedestal in the center, you can see what I think is Riven's blade. That's the blade she got when she was part of the Sentinels of Light. So, it makes sense. But then on the left side, there is a different kind of a blade. And you may be asking, well, I don't know any Sentinels that would be fitting this weapon. To which I would say, that does look like Yasuo's sword. Now, of course, Yasuo was never part of the Sentinels. However, that doesn't mean that he can't get a Sentinels of Light skin. In fact, if you go to the other side of the arena, there we can see Ilawi's idol, which may be teasing that Ilawi will be also getting a Sentinels of Light skin. And that is because, yes, Ilawi wasn't a Sentinel neither. But if both of these become true, then that makes me wonder, is the main pedestal teasing Riven for 2xKO? Well, for now, that is just a theory. Which then brings us to the final note. I've spent a lot of time talking to the dev team and listening to the players this week. And the messages of support and love you've sent mean a lot. Thanks for catching up with us. And we are looking forward to the journey ahead. See you in the lobby, Sean. And so, just like that, the news is out. 2xKO is still alive, and there are updates coming to the game which also include new arenas, new champions, stuff like that. However, from this point on, the focus of this game was sharpened to a single point, and that point is pointing at the core audience, which is fighting game fans. Unfortunately, this may also mean that all the casual players which should be joining the game, because you need new players for a game to grow, might not be interested in the game as much. And so, for the long term, I can't even guess what's gonna be happening. What I do know is that right now 2xKO is in the same spot where League of Legends was years ago. Back then they could get in new players by two things: releasing new champions and releasing new skins. And for the sake of 2xKO, I just hope that some of the new champions are gonna have more than two legs.